Okay, so, it's not really realistic for most companies to look at breaking even only selling one product. I mean, to be honest with you, you can't build a company around one product, at least not that I've ever seen. Most companies have multiple products with multiple cost structures. And so, we need to be able to adopt this simple analysis that we've been doing to use in the real world where there are multiple products being sold at any given time. So that's what we're going to look at now. So the first thing that we need to do is to get it clear in our head which are the fixed expenses or fixed costs that are traceable to each product segment that we are looking at, right? To each segment or product that we're looking at. So if you have a factory that is only used for producing one of your multiple products, then that would be a direct fixed expense, whereas common fixed expenses are not traceable. And this becomes really important actually in the next module, which is really sort of the culmination of all of this stuff. But common fixed expenses are things that are not traceable to any particular segment, right? So we're using the word segment here as a broad term that really represents the products that we're thinking about at this point. Okay, this is the key slide for this content. Okay, this is really important. We've got 2 lines of text, right, that hold a world of good information. All right. So what you have to do in order to be able to create a break even for multiple products is you need to think about the sales mix, or how much of one product you sell per unit of another product. It's kind of like, you can almost think of it like a bundle, right? So if you're a ski shop, it's skis versus boots. You're not always selling skis and boots together, but over the course of a year, you're going to sell some number of skis relative to some number of boots, right? Your sales mix is the combination, the relative combination of products being sold. Right, so it's easiest to think about in terms of retail because we all shop retail, but manufacturers have the same thing, right? So if you're a manufacturer of lawnmowers, maybe you're also making weed whackers, or maybe you're making multiple types of lawnmowers, right? And so what you do is you create a package of products that is some combination of the various products that you're manufacturing in proportion that is relevant to your actual sales mix. So this is easiest to explain, as always, with an example. So here we have our same example of the lawnmower manufacturer. They make some $400 push mowers, and they make some $800 riding mowers. And for these 2 products, we've got our $325 in variable costs for the mulching mower, and we've got new information that tells us it's $600 in variable costs for the riding mowers. Total fixed cost across the whole company is $96,250, and this is the key, right? This is the key. The sales mix here is 3 push mowers to 2 riding mowers. Right, so in every 3 push mowers they sell, they are going to expect to sell 2 riding mowers. So this is our sales mix. This is the ratio or the relative concentration of our 2 products in a bundled package that we can then use as the basis for our analysis. So here is what they want us to do. They want us to form a package of mulching and riding mowers based on the sales mix. And then we want to calculate the package contribution margin. And then based on that, we're going to calculate the package break-even point, and then we're going to break that down into our mulching mowers or our push mowers and our riding mowers, and then we are going to, as usual, prepare a contribution margin income statement as in the previous examples. Okay, this is obviously something that would lend itself to being worked out in Excel, and in the next video I will show you how to do that, but here I'm just going to talk you through it with my pencil because it might make it more clear. Right, so we have mulching mowers with a price of $400, unit cost, variable cost of $325, giving us a contribution margin of $75. And our riding mowers have a price of $800, cost of $600, and a unit contribution margin of $200. And we know, here's our package with 3 times 75. Right, 3 times 75 is going to be $225 contribution from the mulching mowers, and 2 riding mowers with a contribution of $200 each into our package, which gives us $400 of contribution from the riding mowers, and that means that in this package of 3 mulching mowers and 2 riding mowers, our total contribution margin is $625. This makes sense, right? So this is precisely like calculating our unit break-even, but we are treating the package as a unit, right? It's bundling. It's kind of like a Happy Meal at McDonald's, right? So we have our break-even packages is going to be our total fixed cost divided by our package contribution margin, which gives us, we run through the calculation, this gives us 154 packages. Now each package consists of 3 mulching mowers and 2 riding mowers. That means in order to break even at this sales mix, right, and that's the key assumption, that the sales mix is known, right? If you don't know what your sales mix is, then you can't do any of this. But at that sales mix of 3 to 2, then we need to sell 462 mulching mowers and 308 riding mowers in order to break even. And then again, I'll show you how to do this in Excel in a bit, but in the next video. But here we just have our contribution margin income statement calculated as before, giving us $34,650 in contribution for the mulching mower, $61,600 from the riding mower, giving us a total contribution of $96,250, which is our total fixed cost, giving us an operating income of 0. Okay, and then we just run through, all the different flavors of how to calculate break even, right? So now we need to calculate our break even in sales dollars, and then again do our contribution margin check. And so let's go ahead and run through that. So recall that on the previous page we were given that the revenues are expected to be 1.12 million, and that the variable cost was expected to be 870,000. So that gives us contribution margin of 250. Divide that by our revenue of 1.12 million, and that gives us our contribution margin ratio of 0.2232. We had our fixed cost given as before of 96,250. Divide that by the 2232. This again is another typo, and that gives us a break-even sales dollar of 431,228, which is a little bit different than our previous calculation because of rounding. But that's okay. This is a quick way of calculating your break-even sales dollars for a multiple product firm. And again, as before, we have our sales figure that we calculate, 431,228. Our variable cost here was 1 minus the contribution margin, or 768, which gives us a total variable cost of 334,978. Our contribution margin was 96,250 fixed cost, and that gives us operating income of 0, and so our calculations were in fact correct. Okay, so this is just a little caveat. When you're looking at the break-even sales dollars approach, right? If you know your bundle contribution margin or your package contribution margin, then you don't need to have you don't need to go through the exercise of building a package contribution margin from scratch, right? The thing is that this is, it's a back of the envelope kind of thing, but it is used all the time. It is one of the most important things that managers look at. This is called managing for profitability. If you remember from the very, very first lecture, I called this class Managing for Profitability, or Managing by the Numbers, and this is really where it comes into play, this kind of analysis. Now, coming up next, there's going to be one more video for this series, and it's going to be basically taking some of these formulas, showing you how to set them up in Excel, and also hitting the last bit of content in the chapter, which has to do with risk and sensitivity, and just giving you a little sense of how that looks in a real world, okay?